Bored Individual says, LS looks so tall compared to Dom because the way their webcams are positioned. Well, yes, but also LS is standing. If you didn't know, he's actually 7'6". LS stands for literally standing. Hey, what's up, everyone? You know the deal. It's dGon versus commenters, Facecheck Season 3, Episode 23. And a lot of changes in the LCS this week, as well as some stuff happening with our show, and you guys covered it all in the comments, so let's get straight to it. First up, Alex Wilson says, dGon is the glue man. Thanks, man. Also, he says, rip Solo. Get this man decent infrastructure. Yeah, I think with Solo and the Solo fallacy, this whole, aura surrounding Solo, I had the opportunity to interview him. It's on our channel, and he did say he wanted to play 10 more years and was learning the difference between when to give like that hard love and when to pull back. And it really felt like, not knowing the situation beforehand as much, in terms of being difficult, kind of like Dardoch. People will say, yeah, Dardoch is difficult, passionate, and then flames people. With Solo, when I've talked to other people, people are like, my man's just says it like it is, and he'll work hard. Actually, someone that worked with him in the past said, when he's on teams where he's not the best player, like that's where you get the most out of him, because he's obviously messing up, and that leveled him up. So I'm guessing that's probably his FlyQuest days. But I think that for Solo to go into the Golden Guardian spot and know that, hey, this is a team that's struggling, was going to be a challenge no matter what. And if he did grow or didn't grow, unfortunately, doesn't matter in this case, because Golden Guardian saw fit to pick up a piece with Licorice, which is also a fascinating bit that you can catch more of over at Tim7 Houston's podcast, True Sight, the True Sight podcast. Nick Fan went on there and talked a little bit about the move that was made on the Golden Guardian side. Next up on the Solo topic train, Kinshred, kind of like Kindred, I see what you did there, said, if there were a few more weeks in the split, I would feel confident saying Solo is gonna be back starting in Golden Guardians, but there's probably not enough time for that to happen this year. Just tacking on to that little bit in the end, I think Golden Guardians are making an investment into Licorice. They gave him a 3-year deal. So kind of like contract jailing him a little bit, but believing that he's a piece that they can build around. And there's connection there. Danon was the former GM over at Cloud9. And so I think when you see that kind of a player become available, knowing that he's had glorious times while you guys were together, I think you take that opportunity and run with it. Edgar Martinez says, Dom is right. I was a huge FlyQuest fan during the 2020 summer in Worlds because of the roster. Seeing them sell everyone and take a nosedive at the standings pushed me far away. It only pushed me to watch other teams in which the original players ended up. And to tack on to that, Noah Metzar says, I really relate to what Dom says about team fan, player fan. I am from EU, and there has been some nights I would skip watching LCS because it is pretty late and you don't want to watch a game without your favorite player. In my case, it is Alfari. Now, this is a difficult thing to balance, right? Because teams and brands want to build their organization, especially after they've invested millions of dollars into the brand and organization. But the way to do that is through your players, but that's difficult when the quality of player will vary based on patches. And so if you invest heavily, like a CLG, into your star players, like Stixxay and Wiggly, and then they just drop off, whether it's their skill set or the patch doesn't fit them, you're put in a tough spot. So I think a lot of the time it is difficult to straight hero build one single player and not have any worries or fears that their growth and their power will then lead to the whole organization bending a knee, which is what Doublelift has been able to do throughout his career, or what he was able to do throughout his career, whether that was CLG, whether that was TSM, and even Team Liquid, right? There's times where players were out upon his request and or demand. That's a tough spot to be in when you are a multi-person organization that has to make decisions. So It is a little different in this case. I mean, Alfari and Jenkins, that's kind of like you've got the best player and fan favorite for a guy that's worked super hard and deserves a spot and deserves a chance, and now has gotten the chance, but now as like results are fading, it makes it very difficult to continue to support the team without, you know, sticking in that back that star player. So I get that, and I see how that can hurt some of the viewership, but I'm hoping that teams that do cultivate something good out of something that people maybe didn't think were going to be good, very much like that FlyQuest 2020 roster, hopefully teams will continue to do that, and fans will still be able to buy in and respond and trust some of the organizations. And I think it comes from transparency. And I got to chat about that with Coach Gilhoto in the mid game. You could take a look at that and see what his thoughts are on building the org. But not everyone feels that way. Sometimes people are like, hey, the more I have to explain myself, the more work it is trying to make it make sense to people that don't have the responsibility of the decision making, and also the responsibility of all the things that go into an organization, which is a good lead in to my next comment. Seraphim said, I'm confused. Am I supposed to be mad, angry by Greg Kim or being hired by CLG, or am I supposed to be happy? Head of Esports sounds like what in soccer a director of football is called. Director of football is generally in charge of the hiring and firing of managers, coaches, scouting, recruitment of players, long-term strategy, and the improvement of facilities. Their responsibilities can vary from club to club, with some being heavily involved in all aspects of the business, including the hiring and firing of managers, scouting, recruitment, long-term strategy. Yes, got it. All right, so Greg's position is unique because he oversees all of it. If he saw fit to hire someone else to run the team or run the organization, run the operation, he theoretically could do that. They would have to justify the spend. And currently, right now, that is Tafo, who is the general manager of the organization. But he is more, again, on the Madison Square Garden side of things. He's going to be the advocate on up to the rest of the money and some of those decision makers. But ultimately, CLG is his to run now. So whether he thinks, hey, I'm going to be a facilitator and hire some of the best people in here to run multiple facets, or if he's going to be hands-on a la early season 4, 5, and 6 of Jack, Reggie, and Steve, that's something that he can decide on as well. So it's still very early, but the fact is CLG and Madison Square Garden have now found their guy for the next, I would say, 2 to 3 years of CLG. And because it's someone that is endemic to the space, aka Evil Geniuses, also came from Riot and has all those Riot connections and ideas on how the game was going to be run, and came from an insights background, a data analytics background, your CLG fans are getting someone that is embedded in not just League of Legends, but the competitive side of League of Legends, and has a track record now of success from his time over at Evil Geniuses. Okay, friend of the show is back yet again with another good point. Dildunion says, so team fan versus player fan seems very difficult for new teams. Clearly teams from the old guard like CLG, TSM, Cloud9, TL also have won something, has a much easier time getting a team fan base. Even Dig has some of the team. Even Dig has some fans of the team. However, is anyone out there really a Golden Guardians, Immortals, FlyQuest fan? I think 100 Thieves actually has made the template for new teams getting a team fan base. 1, invest smart in players for winning in the future. Every team tries that. 2, they have heavily invested in popular streamers and good PR, Valkyrie, Yasuo, etc. This is what needs to be done. The brand itself has personality. The player should not have the ability to take your fans from you. If he is benched for valid reasons like underperformance, toxic, capital Dardock. So, if you're going to do something like that, that is an expensive endeavor. And I think it's been hit on before. That is an expensive roster that 100 Thieves has right now. Plus, they picked up Abadage in the middle of the split. So they had to pay Schalke and pay Abadage to do it. There has to be an influx of cash, and right now that is something that all teams are operating under, this kind of, hey, how do we efficiently get there? 100 Thieves was like, yeah, let's spend the money. Let's go get those players. And I think Golden Guardians had a opportunity to do that by keeping that core roster, which is now the Golden Thieves. But I was part of that first year. That first year, we weren't able to find success, and that still cost money for everyone on the team, for all the management side, for the branding, for the video people, and the players that we had, and the academy roster. There's a huge startup cost right at the top. 100 Thieves were able to put together a competitive roster early on in their inception of a team, right? They went to finals against Team Liquid over in Miami. So they already found levels of success that no other new team has been able to do yet. Maybe Immortals, but not the new Immortals, old Immortals. And Immortals made their first big bet on Smithy, and that didn't quite pan out. So I think the biggest thing that helps all teams with their fan base is winning. And 100 Thieves is the best out of these teams to do that, other than FlyQuest. So I do think that FlyQuest does have a fan base that's there, but their fan base isn't based on winning. They made the concerted effort to make it based off of doing good and sharing good and best practices and being a beacon of good, which is great, but also that is not as passionate as like winning and losing. That's why TSM probably has the most passionate fan base, because they were the fuck it Bay life kind of guy, and let's go win, and I'm gonna let you know I'm gonna win kind of thing. So I think that's why Cloud9 has a big fan base, because they were the anti that, but still won a lot and let people know that they, were gonna win and be good and, easy. Especially think about that iconic roster. All of them had some sort of chip on their shoulder and swag. Maybe not Balls, but Balls, you look at Balls and he beat you up. He's super jacked. So even then he had his own thing going for him. So with all that said, yes, I think 100 Thieves has a blueprint there. Also, just to this point, Tildania, I don't know about this one. You're like, yeah, they signed Valkyrie and Yasuo. Well, they signed Valkyrie before she was Valkyrie, right? She was big, but not the number one. So I think there's also a modicum of luck that also comes into it as well on who you sign, just like what they said in terms of investing for smart players for winning in the future. Like, every team tries to do that. Come on, like, you got to get a little bit of lucky and find the magic sauce and then have money to keep them. In 100 Thieves' case, they've been able to rebuild multiple times after they got lucky. The first time was Someday. They got Someday. He's been the piece they built around and kept him around since then. Remember, they tried to shoehorn Ryoma in there a couple times. That was not a great decision. So sometimes it comes down to just luck. And I think 100 Thieves have been the luckiest with some of their decisions, and their players have been able to perform through multiple different roster iterations. And 100 Thieves has this edge about them, about winning. These other orgs don't quite have that yet. All right, I have to be careful what I say here based on my previous relationship. Sick Love says, I don't get what Golden Guardians are trying to achieve anymore. We started the year as them developmental roster. Now they bring in Licorice, which is performing really badly and arguably doesn't have much development. Are they just trying to make playoffs and call that a success? Are they trying to develop a roster for next year? I have zero clue at this point. What teams try to do is they try to find a core group of players. You try to find a core. And that's what Golden Guardians' intention was this year, right? No returning players coming back. They sold the 4. They also moved on from Hanser. They're like, Niles, Collegiate, let's try that. Iconic, Collegiate, let's try that. Newbie, Minor Region, let's try that. Stixay will be our veteran that teaches them. And then a Blaze Olive, a longtime amateur, I guess, god. He's an amateur god. Let's give him the shot. And so you're just trying to find some pieces to build around. And I think, unfortunately, they figured out, whoa, our top lane is not what we need. It's not what we want. They found out Solo is not going to be a player they build around either. Licorice is still young. So remember, Licorice and Solo used to be an amateur at the same time together. Licorice was an E United, Solo was a Gold Coin United. Solo was the more older option, but slightly more developed than Licorice, who was the younger option, but had more upside, and achieved that over at Cloud9. I believe the leaders over at Golden Guardians do think that they can retool, they can rebuild him. He's the $1 million man, Licorice is, and they can work around that. Very much like what 100 Thieves did, right? 100 Thieves only built around one person, and it was Someday. Now, Someday probably better than Licorice, even at Licorice's peak, but we've seen Licorice been able to handle some of the top talents in North America and only really get frazzled at Worlds when he was in form. So I think when you're able to get a piece like that, and you know that Solo isn't going to be that piece, it does kind of point to the fact that this is going to be a developmental roster, and they are trying to find a core group. Whether that means Stixxay is going to still be the AD carry, whether that's Chime. Remember, now Chime has an opportunity coming on in from Osh and getting himself a chance to prove himself, I think is something. I think they're probably going to have to keep looking around in the jungle pool. Like, Iconic hasn't made those major strides yet, and it'll be tough to tell how much of Golden Guardian's summer success was based off of Solo coming in and dictating the pace compared to, oh, the guys have just leveled up after playing together for more than just, you know, a 2-month off season and then straight on in, or maybe even shorter, because I think Golden Guardians were late in the market here. So all that said, I still do believe this is a developmental roster. I think making playoffs is always good to tell your boss, hey, look, we made playoffs. But I don't think that is a primary goal here. I think it is actually to tool up for next year, because Worlds being in North America next year is ratcheting up the heat on some of these orgs and some of these decision makers, because owners are like, oh, it's going to be in North America. Oh, I could have my team here at Worlds. That's our goal. So we're going to see a lot of dramatic changes coming up real soon. And I think that's why we're starting to see a lot of changes this year. All right, everyone, that was definitely a long one, but I felt like there was a lot of context to this week, and your comments have been getting better and better. So thank you very much. If I didn't get to yours or I missed it, and you have thoughts on some of the things that I said, probably about, like, you know, brand or priorities for teams and coaches, let me know in the comments below. I'll be in there as usual. Appreciate all y'all for your support throughout the years here on Facecheck.
Well, that's the end of that video. You want more though, right? Thought so. Good thing YouTube makes it so easy to watch more VENN Esports simply by clicking the subscribe button, dinging the bell, and exploring all the other good stuff we have to offer. Got some good things. Yeah. I remember that one. Yeah, this was the one that we did that one time, and it was like so great. It was so good. I learned a lot. You should click on it. It's this one.